I recently pointed out to a friend that you're not actually allowed to move pieces diagonally in a game of Ghost Stories, when I found myself having an opinion. Is it possible to play games wrong? I mean, on one level, it seems like the answer should be an obvious yes, doesn't it? You're supposed to play the game one way, you played it another way, so you played the game wrong. Right? But there's a couple of words in there I keep getting tripped up on. Supposed to play. Allowed to do. So I have to ask. Supposed to by whom? Allowed by whom? I mean, if my friend wants to move that monk diagonally in a game of Ghost Stories, it's not like Antoine Bowser's going to come to his house and break his kneecaps, right? Although, Antoine, if I'm wrong about that, I have his address and I can be bought very easily. Archives looks great. But if we're going to say that you can play a game wrong, maybe we should first agree on what a game actually is. I mean, obviously, games are those things in pretty boxes sitting on my shelf. But which part of what's in those boxes makes up the game? Is it the pieces? I mean, we've talked about miniatures on this show before, and without the rules of the game, they're just pretty bits of cardboard, wood, or plastic. And if I was to grab a deep one out of my copy of Mansions of Madness and proxy it into a game of Spirit Island, I'm not suddenly playing a hybrid of the two games. Although, so it's the rules, right? That's the part of the game that makes that game that game. Maybe? Sure, you can make a chess set or a checkers set out of just about anything. But if I'm getting Everdell off the shelf and I'm not playing with those delightful little squishy berries and that ludicrous but wonderful tree, I'm not going to feel like I'm playing Everdell. And okay, you've probably been staring at your screen for the last minute waiting for me to get to the bleedingly obvious conclusion. The game is the combination of the bits and the rules. And you'd be right. Kind of. The combination of the bits and the rules is definitely what the game's designer intended it to be. And if I get together with some friends I don't usually game with, and we pull out a game that we're all separately familiar with, that's the version of the game that we're going to play. So why isn't this case closed? See, it's house rules that throw the curve into this for me. In fact, we used a house rule when we played Ticket to Ride Europe on the show a few months ago. We decided that it just was more fun to put the stations over the routes rather than putting them in cities, and no one's cancelled us over it yet. Alan R. Moon didn't drop by the comments to throw shade at us. You beautiful viewers didn't even bring it up. But then, if we house rule a game, are we playing it wrong? Let's take it to a bit of an extreme with a thought experiment. If I take the original Posthuman, a game full of ideas that I really, really like, and a few mechanics that I really, really don't, and my game group and I house rule a new combat system that we think is more fun, are we still playing Posthuman? I mean, we're using all the bits, we're using 90% of the rules. Is there a tipping point where what we're playing stops being Posthuman? Or where we're playing Posthuman wrong? And if we all agree that's how we want to have fun with that box of stuff, who's to say that we're wrong? I mean, is it disrespectful to the designer to decide that we have a better idea of how we will have fun with their game than they do? I don't want to get into death of the author theory here, and not just because there is a veritable army of lit crit YouTubers who've already done it way better than I could. But just because Gordon Calleja says that there's a right way to play Posthuman doesn't obligate me to agree. And absolutely, the designer is an important, if absent, voice in the room when it comes to deciding how a game should be played. And they are the people who've done hundreds or even thousands of hours of playtesting to make their games work. But at the end of the day, you know who I think is a better arbiter of how my friends and I are going to have fun with a game? My friends and I. We're the ones putting aside a couple of hours on a Monday night to play this game. And if we decide that Ghost Stories is more accessible or more interesting or, I don't know, just more fun when we move the monks diagonally, we can do that. Because ultimately, that's what a game is. It's a social contract between a group of people to use a box of stuff to have a certain kind of fun in a certain way. And absolutely, the designer's intention for that box of stuff matters a lot, because they came up with a great idea and thought of neat ways for that stuff to interact with that other stuff. And they have probably played that game more times than I ever will, making sure that it stays fun in a bunch of different setups and configurations. But if I want to use that box of stuff a bit differently, or even very differently, and my friends agree, totally fine. So, can you play a game wrong? Yeah, of course you can. If you meant to play it according to the designer's intention and you forgot something or misinterpreted something or just plain goofed, you've probably played the game wrong. But if you've decided that it's more fun for you to play that game in a different way, you definitely haven't played the game wrong. And this goes double for playing games in ways that were intended just because it's not how you like to play them. I cannot believe this needs to be said, especially right now, but solo gaming is a legitimate and important part of the hobby. Don't be to solo gamers. I shouldn't even need to say that. But that's my opinion. What do you think? Are the designer's wishes immutable and sacrosanct? Or do we have some leeway to play around and adapt these boxes of cool stuff that we've filled our lives with? Let me know down in the comments. And as always, like, share, subscribe, follow us on social media, and I will see you at the table. And don't be jerks to solo gamers. I'm serious.